is mostly for you, but it's kind of a two-part question. The first part of the question is, would you agree that your average student that's going to a university or whatever school, as they enter a biology class, they're listening to their teachers, assuming that the information they're being given is correct, and naturally agreeing with all the information they're being given because they want to test well on their tests. Of course, they're memorizing it and so forth. And that since science is based with the presupposition that naturalism is as far as you can go, that creation and so forth is not even allowed, whether the evidence pointed towards it or not, do you think that that affects, especially since we know of many, many cases of scientists with very valid scientific arguments that are ostracized? In fact, can you imagine people in the scientific community agreeing with creation, the science behind it, are they not ostracized? I mean, we know of many accounts where they've lost their jobs and so forth over that. So are they given a fair chance? Like, and this, Richard, would be a question for you too. All those evidences, scientific evidences you gave for the Earth being a young Earth, do you honestly think those have been seriously considered by science at large? So when you say that all science converges with the same theory, don't they almost have to? I mean, not completely have to, but wouldn't they be ostracized if they're coming against the norm?
In a general sense, yes. You know, if you make a point that's contrary to the norm, you've got a lot of explaining to do. You know, and this is one area where I think it's the dream of a lot of scientists to come up with an explanation that is contrary to the norm. Because imagine the fame and the notoriety that you would get being the guy or being the lady who came up with the answer that showed everyone else was wrong. Like, that scientist will go down in the history books, and the ones that have done that in the past, you know, the Newtons, the Einsteins, the Feynmans, have done that, where they've just shown we're massively wrong. And when you look at a proposal, the reason that you have a lot of explaining to do if you're trying to say everyone else is wrong is because we've got centuries of experiments and observations and scientific models that point to a similar explanation. And if you're saying, no, the Earth isn't 4.5 billion years old, it's a few thousand years old. If you're saying, no, the universe isn't 14 billion years old, it's a few thousand years old, you have to explain, or you have to show evidence that's above and beyond all of what the different fields of science have all put together. You know, and so in that context, you know, when somebody makes a statement and says, you know what, everyone else is wrong and I'm right, you know, those statements can be analyzed and looked at, but if it's on an established area where, you know, we know it pretty well, you do have to explain why all of those other things are wrong. And we have examples of that happening in the past. You know, quantum physicists in this century have had a heyday with telling us how bizarrely wrong we were about the way the universe really was. And they didn't have as justification just a stronger voice. They had as justification really good experiments with really precise and predictable results that said, yeah, I know you guys have said this for a long time. That's not really the way the universe is. And the way we treated them was, at first, you know, a lot of people said, no, that can't be. Even Einstein's favorite quote, you know, when he said God does not play dice, that's often used to talk about his religious beliefs. It's really meant to say quantum, like, the universe doesn't work like what quantum physics says it does. You know, well, over time, they were shown right, and so all of the established scientists that said, no, you guys are wrong, get out of here, they had to change, because even though it was radical and new and different, it was right. Did that answer your question, or the part that you were addressing to us?
I hear your answer to the question. I just think that it usually, many people have tried and they're not listened to that have legitimate arguments, so you probably address that.
We mentioned a video that you might have already seen. It's called Expelled, No Intelligence Allowed by Ben Stein. Has anybody seen it? Okay, well, in that video, he clearly documents, and I could easily document numerous cases of people who were ostracized, lost their jobs, their tenure, etc., because they proposed an alternative perspective. Okay, so this is a case where there is some type of bias in it. Matter of fact, it's interesting because someone from China can come over and say, you know what? You can talk about evolution, but you can't talk against the government. In the Americas, it seems like you can talk about the government, but you can't go against evolution. It seems because there is an awful lot of there's a lot of documented cases of people who have lost their jobs because of teaching about the problems of evolution. We're not necessarily saying evolution is wrong, we're saying the problems, okay? So that's interesting, but again, I would say this. First of all, you know, again, about evolution, the laws of science. The laws of science do not support the evolutionary model. I'd like to hear these guys give me one law, the laws of genetics, the laws of physics, the laws of chemistry, none of them support the evolutionary model. I think it's interesting, but just a thought.
Let me make one quick statement about the question of prejudice, because that's exactly what it is. It's a prejudice. We all have them. Every idea, an idea gets momentum. It starts with a nothing, an idea, and it gets momentum. It gets followers, it moves. I don't care what area of philosophy or theology or science you're in. Ideas have momentum. And if you're going to change that momentum, you've got a fight on your hands. There's no question about it. And that is what people are up against. But the one thing I do find interesting is, yes, at one time creation had the momentum, and then evolution had the momentum. But if you take a look now at what's happening in the community, catastrophism and creation is again picking up momentum. More and more scientists are coming over to that side. But that doesn't mean, you know, that all these evolutionists are absolutely horrible people. It means they believe in something and they're going to hold the ground and defend it as best they can, the same as we do. You want to change the momentum, you have to fight to change the momentum. And that's why Rich and I are here. We're fighting to change the momentum. That doesn't make them evil. It just means that they're wrong. I mean, we have to correct them. That's all.
I appreciate the distinction.
Let me do this. We had 30 minutes designated for questions and answers. Okay. What I'd like to do, tell me if you want to do something different. What I'd like to do is have you give a 10-minute summary, summarization. You give a 10-minute summarization, and then we can continue with questions and answers after that. But if some of you want to go and you're kind of wondering about how long is this going to go, if you want to go at that time, you can. If you want to hang out for further questions and answers, you can. But I've learned a long time ago. Would that be okay? Or?
I suspect that if we haven't made our point by now that we're not going to in 10 minutes more. If you would like 10 minutes, we went over time on several things, but I don't have anything new to say in 10 minutes.
I think there may be a lot to be gained from more Q&A. I think there may be.
I agree too, but I'd like to just go 5 minutes at least on something, because you said you did go over.
Oh yeah, no, take 5 minutes. So
I reserve the right to rebut.
All right. Let's do this then. Take 5 minutes, Richard. If you want to rebut, you can, and then we'll continue the question and answers. Okay? So we'll get to you guys in just a moment. All right? So do I. Yeah, both sides went over, sir. It's probably equal if you add it up, but I don't know who's keeping track. You are.
You know what? I'm not going to do this slide. I'm just going to go through because it's not working. I have 5 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, again, the question is, what would refute evolution? Well, it's like we started from the explosion, the Cambrian explosion, and that's evidence against evolution, but it doesn't seem to be enough. It seems like whatever we come up against it, they always seem to say, well, there was other explosions, and I just find it interesting. It's like, what evidence would you accept as against it? Now, against the laws of physics go against it too, but what I'm concerned about really is this, and that's why I'm going to have a few minutes here. It's the stuff we see in the magazines, the stuff we see in the textbooks. For example, the horse series example, you'll see a bunch of horses, and you'll see the bottom of it's called Eopus. And if you really look carefully, this is not a horse, it's a rock badger. You take that rock badger out of the picture, out of the equation, what do you have? Horses. Right now you have a Clydesdale, you have a pony, you have miniature horses, they're horses. Okay, and arranging animals from small to large is nice in the textbook, but it's not what we really see in the fossil record.